I would definitely have to say that Jim Carrey is one of my favorite actors. I mean, one of my favorite people on the planet for sure. I mean, I know he kind of went off the rails for a while and I guess went off the radar or went off the radar and then went off the rails for a while, I guess. I don't know. But still, he's one of those actors that just stood the test of time. I mean, everybody could say they have a favorite or at least couple known Jim Carrey films. I mean, geez, me, myself, and Irene, The Cable Guy, Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, Liar, Liar, Number 23, Ace Ventura 1 and 2, Eternal Sunshine, Truman Show, The Majestic, Dark Crimes, I Love You, Philip Morris, Batman Forever, technically, you know, because he was fucking the Riddler, man. Whatever that Penguin movie was, The Poppers, The Grinch, Bruce Almighty. I mean, come on. I mean, everything that he does, you have to at least have one or two, you know, I'm just saying. But if not, fine. But I was never, I was never really into vampires, right? Vampires are never really my thing. So we were hanging out and some friends were like, oh, we should watch this movie called Once Bitten. This is 80s vampire movie. And I was like, all right, you know, whatever. And they're like, yeah, it stars Jim Carrey. And I was like, wait, what? So I looked up and it turns out Jim Carrey was in a couple of movies back in the day before his career in film really actually took off. He did a lot of like smaller movies that I guess no one really heard of. But it's funny because Once Bitten came out in 1985, which is also when Back to the Future and Teen Wolf came out. So it makes sense that Michael J. Fox like totally overshadowed and being a werewolf totally overshadowed being a vampire. But this movie was funny. It was a lot more serious, I would say. The tone was way more heavier than the tone in Teen Wolf because in Teen Wolf it was just kind of like, oh, you're a werewolf now. There's no explanation, no backstory, no flashback, no nothing. No nightmares even, no him murdering people in his sleep. I mean, unfortunately. Whereas they had everything in Once Bitten. I mean, it was fantastic. Everything from the one-liners to Jim Carrey becoming a vampire. I mean, it was just insanely good. Like, insanely good. It's some weird science going on, for sure, that I had never fucking seen this movie. But anyway, so Once Bitten stars Jim Carrey and this model, Lauren Houghton. She's gorgeous. She plays the Countess, who is actually this woman that needs to drink virgin blood to sustain her youth. And her butler / gay assumed lover best friend butler is Cleveland Little from Blazing Saddles. So it's pretty freaking awesome. Like a lot of his lines and dialogue are funny too. The guy's like, hey, do you want your crotch set on fire? And he's like, ooh, tempting. It's just like, oh shit. But yeah, so the Lauren Houghton's character, the Countess, she ends up finding Jim Carrey because he's, what do you know it, a virgin, and he's a senior in high school, and we know this because he's been dating this girl in the movie for like 4 years, and they never got it on. You know, he was never able to get to third base. So he ends up meeting the Countess at this bar. He goes to the bar with some friends to try to like pick up on some ladies. It's the last night of being in, or I guess it's like what they do in high school, I guess back in the 80s, is like you got to go get the women right before you graduate. You got to get laid, bruh. So it's like, you know, they go to this bar and the Countess picks him up and takes him back to her place, and like, so good. The lines are so good. He's like, oh, you're a prostitute? She's like, I'll be whatever you want me to be. She's in this like lavish, you know, Hollywood mansion, and he's like, oh, good, because I only got $5. She's like, savage Carrey. Like, it's just so many good scenes, so many good jokes, and pretty much she bites him like right in the inner thigh. Like, it's so funny when it happens because it seems like she's gonna give him like, you know, she's gonna give him a hand or something. She's gonna go down on her brother, but and she's like biting off his buttons. There's this whole joke about like her biting off his shirt buttons, the button biter. And he ends up slowly becoming a vampire throughout the movie, and it's just so funny. Like, I can't spoil it because you have to watch it. It's just one of those films where it's like, what the heck? And especially, like I said, I'm a fan of Jim Carrey, so the fact that I had never seen it, I was just like, wow, you know, like, I guess I lost, when Twilight came out, I lost respect for vampires. I didn't really care anymore, so I wasn't going to look up old vampire movies. I mean, I think I've seen an Interview with the Vampire back in the day. Not going to watch the remake. You know, I loved Dracula and Van Helsing, but like, I you know, it's whatever. They even kind of ruined Frankenstein when they did I, Frankenstein, you know, with the guy from Aaron Eckhart or whatever. And I mean, I appreciated, obviously, The Mummy. Everyone loves The Mummy. You know, fuck the remake with Tom Cruise. And then they've never really done the Preacher from the Black Lagoon. I mean, I know they tried to do the Universal Dark thing, and that didn't really work with I, Frankenstein and the Dracula Untold or whatever. And it's just like, you know, I was just never really a fan of vampires and Dracula and stuff. I mean, I like Nosferatu, but like, so I would never look up a film about vampires, but I didn't even think that Jim Carrey would be in it. So I would definitely suggest to watch it. I don't want to spoil it because it is just so funny. I will say though, that there's this amazing interpretive dance number where Jim Carrey like dances with the Countess and with the girl that he's been with. And the dance is like a super 80s out, but like the Countess is like seducing him, you know, like mentally, because of the bite, you know, and she's like, it's so ridiculous. And then the girlfriend is also like, they've been in love for the past 4 years. Like, he really does love her, but he just wants to get laid, it's ridiculous. It's definitely a Jim Carrey film of like that level of comedy. Like, he plays it so well. He drinks blood. He's like dressing like a vampire, but he's like not a vampire. So when people say he's a vampire, he gets all mad. Like, it's a classic Jim Carrey movie, but I could see why it doesn't have and hold the appeal that Teen Wolf had in that time period. Teen Wolf is way more cool, and you could tell that Once Bitten tried to be cool, and it was like, yeah, of course, like I said, it's a good movie. I really liked it, but I could see why Teen Wolf had more of a fan base. Plus, Back to the Future, people just connect Michael J. Fox to all those movies anyway. But yeah, so check it out. Once Bitten, it's fantastic. And shit, if you haven't seen Teen Wolf, watch Teen Wolf. What are you doing? And if you haven't seen Back to the Future, you need to watch Back to the Future. I'm just talking about 80s movies at this point. Commando. But yeah, this has been Ghost in the Craig. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun jazz. And I will catch you on the flip side. And like I said, October is on the way, man. It's almost here. Woo! Halloween. Have a spooky rest of your day. Even though it's not time to be spooky yet. Don't get, well, at least there's no Christmas cheer. Don't play any of the, turn off that Mariah Carey. Don't you put it on yet.